Jake Ludington here at HP Discover, and I'm here with Paul Muller, best dressed man at HP, and we're going to talk about, is the CIO a plumber or a producer?
It's a fascinating question. I'd be interested in your thoughts, but my sense of it is that the role of the CIO, the role of any IT professional is changing. When I grew up, we always had to judge ourselves, and we were always measured on how deeply and how well we knew the underlying technology. And that's great, and you need that capability, but we're often promoted and advanced through an organization on our basis of how well we understood tech. With the advent of cloud, and particularly with the advent of consumerization, the business is now feeling a lot more IT savvy than they used to be, and that changes the balance of power within IT and between IT and the business, and it changes the skill set that's going to be valued, in my opinion, into the future, moving from, as I said, being great at the plumbing to being a great producer. And a great producer needs to understand plumbing, but they also need to understand how to orchestrate talent.
So what are the big things that have really shifted the way that technology is viewed in the organization? Because obviously it's integral to everything, but what are the big changes?
It's unfortunate, it's almost becoming cliched at the moment, but consumerization, the idea of being able to consume the services you want when you want, as you need them, is definitely one of them. When you combine that with internet technologies, mobility, I think it's that sort of holy trinity, if you like, that has really fundamentally changed. It's going to sound goofy, but the fact that my mother doesn't know how to program a video recorder, but utilizes far more sophisticated technology in Facebook. Really what we're saying is that by making things simpler, making things easier to use, less tech-savvy people can now do some incredibly powerful things with their technology with pretty much just a credit card and an internet browser. That's very different from when I started in the industry 20 plus years ago, where you had to pull floor tiles and flip switches to get anything done. And I think that's probably one of the most fundamental changes that's taken place.
And this may be a little bit outside your bailiwick, but Gen 8 has definitely appeared to take that kind of approach where it's simplifying all of the things that have been hard about IT, like identifying bad drives and making changes on the fly and things like that. Is that a fair characterization? I
think it's a great characterization. It's about just simplifying the user experience across every element of IT, whether it's, as you say, behind the scenes. I've seen that technology. I was looking at it, in fact, last week, and just the simple ability to, pardon the phrase, but idiot-proof something like drive removal, so you don't wind up taking out your hot spare accidentally. It sounds trivial, but that can bring down a company, right? So simplifying that all the way through to simplifying the process of service consumption, absolutely got it right.
How does this picture of the plumber versus the producer play into the DevOps world?
Well, I think they're very closely related, because what the DevOps world is about is fundamentally, I'd say probably two or three key things that I think about. The first is DevOps is not, I want to be really clear, my point of view, DevOps is not a tech thing. DevOps is actually, unfortunately, a buzzword that is a synonym for help me accelerate ideas to implementation. That's really fundamental what DevOps is about. To do that, you need to reduce the backlog of work. You need to find the right services at the right time to do the job. And then you need to put automation and governance around that to ensure that services are repeatably created from build through testing, regression testing, through to automation and implementation. And really the role of the producer in DevOps is to say, have I got the right services? Am I building a set of infrastructure that can be utilized as code rather than having to hand crank machines every time? And have I got a rich set of APIs and control surfaces on my own environment and in the cloud that allows me to act more like an orchestrator than an orchestra member?
So if the CIO role, or CIO, not the CIA.
different organization.
If the CIO's role has shifted to this producer role, where is that going to go, say, 5 years from now?
It's a great question, and I actually think, in fact, I was talking to a number of senior executives last night during an innovation roundtable we had over dinner, and they're all saying the same thing. The pressure is on them to help accelerate innovation. The pressure is on them to, in fact, somebody said, with infrastructure now available as a service and applications or software as a service, really my job primarily as an IT leader is extracting value from information. That's actually my new job. The other two have largely been, I won't say commoditized, but they've been consumerized, right? So really gaining and extracting value from information, getting a lot smarter about business process and business innovation, and really being a great leader of organizational change, because what's interesting is the rate and pace of change has accelerated. People's ability to accommodate and accept that change hasn't. And I think the role of IT in the future is helping people deal with that rate of change.
Do you think that it plays at all into, I know you know Ralph Loss.
It depends on who asks.
It depends on who asks. But do you think that plays anything into where he's kind of on this stability versus resiliency kick right now?
It's a really important point, and it's about resilient services is a really important message. So I don't know if you're familiar with the chaos monkey concept, which is a great idea for those of you who aren't familiar with it. Came out of the Netflix environment. The idea of deliberately, I'm going to use the word sabotaging your own environment to identify modes of failure. And you use automated technology to do that, plus pulling cables periodically to see what happens. When I grew up, you never did that. Like, you managed change. In fact, you tried to eliminate all variability of change to stop things breaking, which ironically led to fragile systems. Right? They were robust, provided you didn't touch them, which made them fragile. What we're talking about now with resiliency is saying, you know what, you should be able to fire a bullet through it, much as you can some of our disk arrays, and they'll literally keep on working. How do you build that, not just at an infrastructure layer, but through every layer of the stack? And especially when you're looking at cloud services, looking at things like multi-sourcing cloud environments. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with the situation when Amazon went down recently. They had that big outage problem. Some companies, such as Netflix, survived that outage quite well because they'd actually built resiliency in for multiple network domains, multiple infrastructure domains. They saw degraded but not disappearing performance the way others had exclusively relied on one organization or one vendor had.
You're almost talking about the network infrastructure as being kind of a living, breathing thing, because if you think about it, people get viruses or infections or whatever, and we recover from those, and our bodies build up antibodies to those things, and so we're able to survive the next time that we encounter that. And so that's almost what you're talking about with the kind of resiliency you described.
I actually think that's probably the perfect analogy. It may get stolen. If you hear it, it was actually Jake's idea. Because you're exactly right, because what you should be doing is, with something like Chaos Monkey, and we'd use also regression testing would fall inside, automated regression testing would fall into that domain. You should be able to take every experience that you ever have that generates a negative outcome, document, capture and automate that, and continuously run that against your own body, if you like, in this case your ecosystem being the network, the application and the infrastructure, consistently and continuously assessing yourself to old attacks, old germs that you should have defeated, and make sure your immune system is always up to date. It's a great analogy. As I said, I will steal that.